My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 32 years old. After my marriage fell apart and I lost my job at the publishing house where I worked, I decided to move to my Uncle Jonathan's inherited house in Willow Creek, a small town in northern Montana. I didn't have many options. My parents had already sold the family home, and renting something in the city was financially out of the question. My uncle's house, though old and isolated, was my only alternative. The property sits about 15 minutes from downtown Willow Creek, hidden at the end of a dirt road that cuts through a dense forest of pines and firs. In the first few days, the almost palpable silence of the place felt therapeutic. The house itself is a solid but aged structure built in the 1950s. The oak floors creak under any weight, the sash windows frequently jam, and there's always a damp chill that permeates the rooms, even at the height of summer. The plaster walls are cracked in several places, and the basement, well, I've avoided the basement since day one. For the first 2 weeks, I kept busy organizing my few belongings, cleaning decades of dust, and making minor repairs. At night, I would sit on the back porch with a glass of whiskey, watching the starry sky you never see in the city. The only sounds were the wind whispering through the treetops, and occasionally the distant call of an owl or the howl of a coyote. It was on the 18th night that it all began. I had just gone to bed around 11:45 p.m. when I heard the first whistle. It wasn't a recognizable tune, just an irregular sequence of high and low notes, as if someone was trying to remember a long-forgotten song. The sound clearly came from outside, probably from the woods behind the house. I assumed it was some night hunter or maybe a drunk who'd lost his way. Willow Creek has its share of eccentric characters. I turned over in bed and tried to ignore it. The next night, the whistling returned. This time it was 12:30 a.m., and the sound was distinctly closer. I got out of bed and, with some hesitation, turned on the outdoor lights. Through the bedroom window, I scanned the grounds with my powerful flashlight. Nothing, absolutely nothing moved among the trees. The third day brought a storm, and I hoped the bad weather would keep any sane person indoors. But at exactly 1:17 a.m., yes, I looked at the clock, the whistle echoed again, now coming from the side of the house near the old garage. The sound was so clear it seemed to be just meters from my window. I grabbed my pistol, a Glock 19 I'd bought after moving, and checked all the doors and windows. Everything was locked with no signs of forced entry. I went back to bed but couldn't sleep. In the following days, a pattern emerged. The whistle always came between 1:15 and 1:20 a.m., and each night seemed to bring the sound slightly closer. On the sixth night, it clearly came from the front porch. On the seventh, it seemed to emanate from the basement. That's when I decided to contact the sheriff. 2 days later, Deputy Ed Tucker, a man in his 50s with tired eyes and calloused hands, showed up at my door. When I reported the nightly whistling, his expression changed visibly. He looked at me for a long moment before saying, "Your Uncle Jonathan. He made the same complaints. Started about 3 years before he died. Said someone was whistling around the property, always in the fall. We patrolled the area dozens of times. Never found anything." A chill ran down my spine. My uncle heard the same thing. Tucker nodded slowly. Worse, he insisted the whistling was inside the house during his last months. We assumed they were hallucinations. Health problems, you understand. But now He didn't need to finish the sentence. I understood the implication. Tucker advised me to install security cameras and reinforce all entry points. That night, I piled heavy furniture against the doors and added extra locks to the windows. But the whistling continued its inexorable approach. On the 10th night, the sound clearly came from inside the house, from the hallway leading to the basement. I took my pistol and checked every inch of the area. Nothing. That's when I decided to investigate my uncle's belongings in the attic. Among dusty boxes, I found a black leather journal. The yellowed pages contained detailed accounts of the whistling, starting in 2014. My uncle documented each occurrence with meticulous precision. October 15th, 1:18 a.m., the whistle came from the woods tonight, higher pitched than usual, almost like a shriek. November 2nd, 1:16 a.m., the sound was on the porch. Checked with the shotgun. Nothing out there, but the smell of wet earth lingered for hours. The most recent entries were the most disturbing. September 12th, 1:19 a.m. He's inside the house now, whistles in the hallway while I lie paralyzed in bed. I see him sometimes, from the corner of my eye. Tall, too thin, wearing something dark. September 30th, found footprints in the basement today. Large, barefoot, with abnormally long toes. The deputy didn't believe me. I'm alone in this. My hands shook as I closed the journal. The next day, I showed the notes to Deputy Tucker. His expression turned grave. "Jonathan never mentioned these footprints," he murmured. "Daniel, you should consider spending a few nights in town, just as a precaution." That night, I prepared as if for battle. I installed Wi-Fi cameras in strategic locations, left all the lights on, and kept my loaded pistol by the bed. At exactly 1:17 a.m., the cameras detected movement in the downstairs hallway. When I accessed the feed on my phone, my throat went dry. A tall, gaunt figure wearing what looked like an old overcoat stood at the foot of the stairs. Its face was obscured by darkness, but I could swear it was looking directly at the camera. Then came the whistle, sharp, piercing, clearly coming from downstairs. The sound ascended the stairs, stopping outside my bedroom. The doorknob began to turn slowly. I shouted a warning and fired through the door. When I opened it, the hallway was empty, except for a trail of wet footprints on the carpet leading back to the stairs. Large footprints with abnormally long toes. I didn't wait for dawn. I grabbed my phone, my keys, and ran to my car, spending the night at Willow Creek's only motel. The next morning, accompanied by Tucker and another officer, I returned to the house. The front door was ajar, though I swore I'd locked it. Inside, we found my uncle's journal, now open to a previously blank page with a single scrawled phrase: "He wants you to go to the basement." Dried mud footprints leading to the basement door. All my security cameras powered off, their memory cards physically removed. Tucker insisted I move out immediately. 2 days later, I was on a flight back to Chicago, leaving the house and everything in it to be handled by a lawyer. 8 months have passed. The house still stands there, locked and empty. No one wanted to buy it after the rumors spread. Sometimes I still wake at exactly 1:17 a.m., my body covered in cold sweat, swearing I hear a distant whistle coming from the dark street. And the worst part? On my last day in Willow Creek, while packing my belongings, I found something hidden under my bed. An old metal whistle, rusted and cold to the touch, with what looked like dried blood around its edges. To this day, I don't know who or what was whistling in that house, but I know I'll never spend another night in Willow Creek. Some mysteries are better left undisturbed.